So, Zimbabwe, the Zims, it's all happening. No. They've now, as we forecast in this show many months back, they now are introducing a new currency called the RTGS dollars. And the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe Chief John Pananetsa said during the monetary policy statement delivered on Wednesday, he announced that the RTGS dollars is now currency, in addition to multi-currency, which will be the functional currency, which will be used for pricing, settlement of local transactions, and budget is in this currency also. He announced that a legal instrument which will take action has been crafted, and when asked about starting the exchange rate for the RTGS against the dollar, Mr. Mangudia says the parallel market rate is between 3 and 4 RTGS to the dollar, and also said, but they will not set a rate, but let the market set the exchange rate, and its value will be determined at a new interbank auction system. Now, the RTGS dollars shall be used by all entities, including the government and individuals in Zimbabwe, for purposes of pricing for goods, services, record debts, accounting and settlement of domestic transactions. And the use of the dollars for domestic transactions will eliminate the existence of the multi-pricing system and the charging of goods and services in foreign currency within the domestic economy. So in other words, Zimbabwe is shutting the clowns out. And the governor further revealed that the Bureau of Exchange shall be authorised to purchase Forex without limits, but shall be limited to sell Forex for small transactions such as subscriptions, business and personal travel, up to a maximum aggregate daily of $10,000 per Bureau of Exchange. So the Zims are not revaluing, as we've said for an awful long time now. They're going with a new currency, and that makes Zims valueless. In essence, you may be able to exchange it for the RTGS, but you will not be becoming millionaires or billionaires or trillionaires or quadrillionaires off Zims. Same as dinars, same as dongs and all the other rubbish that they come out with. A Chicago judge this week has said charges that the US actor Jussie Smollett staged a hoax hate crime against himself are utterly outrageous and despicable if true. And the 36-year-old African-American actor is accused of filing a fake police report claiming he was the victim of a homophobic and also racial assault. Now, the judge, John Fitzgerald Like, who is also black, said that the most vile part of the incident was the use of a noose, signifying him being lynched. And police say he staged the attack because he was dissatisfied with his salary. I don't think it's anything to do with that. I think someone set him up. And the Star's lawyer issued a strongly worded statement after the hearing, calling it an organised law enforcement spectacle. Yeah, right. And described Mr. Smollett as a young man of impeccable character, really. Judge Like said of a rope that Mr. Smollett claimed the attackers had hung round his neck. And the judge comments on Thursday's court appearance alluded to the racist lynchings of thousands of black Americans in the post-American Civil War era. Now, Mr. Smollett, who stars on the TV series Empire, is suspected of paying two brothers to stage the attack on himself, and the siblings are cooperating with the investigation. Chicago officials say Mr. Smollett also sent a racist letter to himself at a Fox studio before staging the attack. And Mr. Smollett denies that charge of felony disorderly conduct. Not good if that's proven correct. You know, it's just not good. It's not going to do the black people any good whatsoever, and sets up stereotypes, does it not? Which then leads to divide and conquer. You know, if found guilty, he should get a severe sentence, regardless of him being so-called famous. Personally, I've never heard of him, but I don't watch TV. But that's bad. That's really bad. The question is, was he set up to do that? As another one of the Portal People's distraction pieces. Let's get the blacks and the whites fighting again. No. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has announced he's closing the border with Brazil this week as a row over foreign humanitarian aid continues. Now, the embattled leader went on TV to say he was also considering shutting the border with Colombia to stop the opposition bringing in relief. Now, what he's stopping is the clowns coming in. You remember the intel a few weeks ago, they were going in through Colombia and Panama. And Mr. Maduro denies any crisis and calls the aid delivery plans a US orchestrated show. Opposition leader Mr. Guaido is leading a convoy to the Colombian border from the capital Caracas. Mr. Guaido declared himself interim leader during anti-government protests last month and is recognised by dozens of foreign states, including the US. Now, scuffles broke out and tear gas was fired when the convoy of buses and cars was briefly stopped by security forces on a road near Mararia, which is west of Caracas, but they later moved on. Meanwhile, after the closure of the border with Brazil was announced, many Venezuelans rushed across the frontier to the Brazilian city of Pacaraima to stock up on supplies. Not a good situation there. But off to India next. 100 million tribes people in India are, in the words of a historian, its invisible and marginal minority group. Despite affirmative action, most of them continue to eke out a miserable existence in the heavily forested, mineral-rich states. More than 4 million of them, by one estimate, live in a protected forest area, which comprises about 5% of India's total land area. Now, some 500 wildlife sanctuaries and 90 national parks also make up these protected areas. But a 2006 law gives tribal people and other dwellers living on forest land for 3 generations before December 2005 the legal right to live and work on the land. But now India's Supreme Court has ordered that more than 1 million of such families living on forest land will have to leave soon. Really. The top court has acted on information provided by 17 states in India, and the states have carried out a 3-step verification of more than 4 million occupancy claims requiring 13 different kinds of evidence. God. Each family living on forest land. More than 4 million claims were filed, some 1.8 million claims have been accepted, and the land titles handed over to families living on 72,000 square miles of forest land. So far, more than 1 million claims have been rejected, so an equal number of families face eviction. And the environmental journalist Nitin Sethi calls this the largest mass-scale legally sanctioned eviction of tribal people in independent India. There's plenty of land in India, you know, but of course the key was further up. They live in a heavily forested, mineral-rich area. That's the key. A bit like Paradise in California, is it not? It's going on all around the world. Canadian Prime Minister, off to Canada next, Justin Trudeau, I said that correctly, has rejected calls to resign over a scandal that has rocked his administration, with senior officials being accused of attempting to protect from prosecution a major Montreal-based engineering company accused of bribery. Mr. Trudeau simply cannot continue to govern this country now that Canadians know what he's done, and that is why I'm calling on Mr Trudeau to do the right thing and also to resign. This was Conservative leader Andrew Scheer, who is slated to run against Trudeau in Canada's up-and-coming October 2019 election. And he was calling on all Royal Canadian Mounted Police to immediately launch an investigation. Good luck with that. There's no chance of the RCMP launching that type of investigation. There's too many of them are involved, is why. Into claims against members of the Trudeau administration if it has not done so already. No, it won't. And Scheer said he believes that Trudeau has lost the moral authority to govern. That's assuming he had moral authority to begin with. Some would argue otherwise. Next person in alleged trouble, as we had forecast in this show, is Israel's Attorney General announced today that his office plans to indict Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on corruption charges after a 2-year investigation. And the Prime Minister faces 1 count of bribery and 3 counts of breach of trust. And the Attorney General, Mr Mandelblit, has informed the Prime Minister, Mr Netanyahu, through his attorney, that he is considering indicting him on several criminal charges, according to a statement by the Ministry of Justice spokesman Adi Livni. Now, prosecutors would have to go forward with a pre-indictment hearing before Netanyahu is formally charged. One ponders where the indictment is for mass genocide, not just bribery and trust. Somebody else in trouble. Former head of GCHQ has resigned his post after it emerged he gave a character reference in support of a pedophile priest who went on to re-offend. Robert Hannigan stood down as director of the spy agency last year, but had carried on and is now gone after less than 3 years in a post, citing family reasons. Now, this report of his departure followed the discovery that in 2013 he'd given character references on behalf of a Catholic priest charged with possessing child pornography. I wonder if this is the same case of where Prince Charles also gave a priest character references. Maybe. One gets fired, one ponces around. Now, the priest, who is said to have been a long-standing family friend of Mr Hannigan, was given a non-custodial sentence and then went on to re-offend. And Hannigan's involvement in the case was said to have been discovered during a major investigation into online chat rooms by the National Crime Agency. Mr Hannigan said the priest had been a close family friend for 20 years and they had submitted a character reference to court in good faith after he pleaded guilty to the offences. I'll have more on this next piece in one of the op-eds, but it has to be addressed. A staffer on Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign said he kissed her without consent at a small gathering of supporters before a Florida rally, and interaction that she alleges in a new lawsuit that still causes her anguish. In interviews with the Washington Post, no surprise, and in the lawsuit, Alva Johnson said Trump grabbed her by the hand and leaned in to kiss her on the lips as he exited an RV outside the rally in Tampa on August the 24th, 2016. Dear me. 2 years to come to God. Johnson said she turned her head and the unwanted kiss landed on the side of her mouth, which she called super creepy and inappropriate. I immediately felt violated because I wasn't expecting or wanting it, she said. I can still see his lips coming straight for my face. Really? Oh dear. But this is the levels of absurdity we are served up now by the media. A complete non-event turned into another drama-laden series. If this woman is anguished as by someone kissing her in a friendly gesture, clearly she requires a mental health assessment immediately. No wonder so many men are frightened to go near women these days. It's with so many fake allegations, most designed to create fame, garner money, or for some sort of other agenda, which takes away from the real issues of women being attacked by men for real. This is the problem it creates. And if the media can highlight a peck on the cheek as something being oh so awful, the question is, why haven't they investigated and highlighted real crimes by Hillary and whom are abetting? Seems a kiss on the cheek is more awful than a ritual sacrifice or ritual abuse these days. The Arizona, the House Health and Human Services Committee approved 3 contentious vaccine-related House bills. Each of the bills loosens government authority over parental immunisation matters. Critics believe that the measures may lower vaccination density in the state. Good. Republicans and Democrats split the vote, with Republicans mostly siding with approval. The first measure of importance, House Bill 2470, allows parents to opt their children out of vaccines without having to sign a state health department form. And committee chairwoman Republican Nancy Barto, who supports and sponsors all 3 bills, says this measure is about protecting parents from government coercion. She went on to say, when a parent only has a government statement that they have to sign in order to qualify for an exemption that they don't agree with, that is coercion. This allows them to either sign that or make their own statement. We are talking about a policy decision now for parents, and we should attribute the best expectations on parents, not the worst. The second measure, House Bill 2472, applies directly to the doctors, and according to the bill, the doctors will need to offer parents an antibody titer blood test for their children, and the blood test is used to determine if the child needs the vaccine. The third bill, 2471, is an informed consent bill that gives parents information regarding vaccine ingredients. Additionally, it explains the vaccine course process in the event a vaccine causes injuries, well, death. Sign of the times, the next 2 news pieces. This week, the Australian government decided that they would ban David Icke from entering the country for his multi-city speaking tour. Now, Mr. Icke has spoken in Australia several times in the past decade, so I don't know why now is any different. But the government cited Icke's sceptical views of vaccinations, global warming and Israel's policies as the reason for the ban. Mr. Icke said, "I was shocked and appalled to receive the news early today that my visa has been revoked just hours before boarding the flight to Australia by the Immigration Minister David Coleman." And Icke said in a statement after being informed of the ban, "I have been a victim of a smear campaign from politicians who have been listening to special interest groups attempting to discredit my beliefs, my views and my character by spreading lies." Now, Mr. Icke was scheduled to speak in Melbourne on March the 1st, Adelaide on the 5th and Brisbane on the 8th and Hobart the 12th, and also in Sydney on the 14th. And he said, does this mean that from this point forward, the Australian government has given licence to ban any media outlet, politician, citizen or public figure from entering this country based on their beliefs? This is the creation of a blatantly Orwellian totalitarian state, and says the government believes they have the right to dictate what the nation can and cannot choose to hear. I'm not forcing anybody to listen to my views, nor am I forcing anybody to believe them. I'm simply stating my well-researched beliefs and giving the Australian public an open forum to consider another point of view. Hear, hear. It's, like I said, it's a sign of the times. Carry on, clowns. The clowns are interfering with the show again. I don't know whether people can hear the beeping right through the show. It won't stop. Facebook announced that it would begin exploring ways to fight anti-vaccine messaging after receiving a letter from Adam Schiff, the Democrats for California. Schiff and others of his ilk are doing their best to blame the measles outbreak in America on social media systems that offer anti-vaccine messaging in their recommended reading and groups areas. And in the report about the letter that Schiff sent off to the heads of Facebook and Google, also YouTube, which is owned by Google, was specifically mentioned as being illustrative of the problem. Really? YouTube on Friday said it would prevent channels from that promote anti-vaccine content from running advertising, saying explicitly that such videos fall under its policy prohibiting the monetization of videos with dangerous and harmful content. Oh dear, YouTube would be shut down if they enforced that, because most is dangerous and harmful to a lot of us anyway. And the move comes after advertisers on YouTube pulled their ads from these videos. Oh dear. President Trump ordering his chief of staff to grant his son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner a top secret security clearance last year, which overruled concerns flagged by intelligence officials and the White House's top lawyer. 4 people briefed on the matter said Trump's decision in May so troubled senior admin officials that at least one, the White House chief of staff at the time, John Kelly, wrote an internal memo about how he had been ordered to give Mr. Kushner the top secret clearance. The White House counsel at the time, Donald McGahn, also wrote an internal memo outlining the concerns that had been raised about Mr. Kushner, including by the CIA, and how Mr. McGahn had recommended he not be given a top secret clearance. That boy will get the president in a lot of trouble one day. Final news story. Some of the people responsible for moderating content on Facebook are suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome. Oh dear. While others are morphing into rabid conspiracy theorists, according to a report on Monday. Many of the employees of Facebook contractor Cognizant are having meltdowns while attempting to moderate the vast troves of content people post on the social media platform. Combing through people's content is turning Cognizant's Arizona office into a dark and sinister place, according to them, and citing interviews with certain moderators of that company. Several moderators told a reporter that conspiracy theories took a strong root at the office, particularly the 2018 Parkland shooting, which resulted allegedly in 17 casualties in Florida. Initially horrified staff, moderators said, and one person called Chloe, who works for The Verge, said claimed her colleagues eventually began expressing doubts about the initial story as more conspiracy content was posted to Facebook and Instagram. People really started to believe these posts they were supposed to be moderating, she said. They were saying, oh gosh, they weren't really there. Look at this CNN video of David Hogg, he's too old to be in school. And people started Googling things instead of doing their jobs and looking into conspiracy theories about them. Oh my. You can't make it up. So even the Facebook moderators are now waking up. And that's kudos to all of us in the alt media. Many are acting responsible and putting out the information and hopefully giving people a chance to look at it themselves. Ramming it down people's throats just doesn't work, does it? But they've seen enough, and eventually the light switch comes on, and it seems to be bothering the people at Facebook and the so-called moderators. Another moderating post gave another moderator named Randy, a form of PTSD and made him think weird thoughts about reality. Oh boy. Well, he actually woke up, realised he's been in a sleep the whole of his life, and suddenly he's woke up to reality. I should play that Soul to Soul song now, back to life, back to reality.